Okay, everybody. So here's the game that we've decided to play. We think that it's way more interesting and way more fun to watch a show like this if you have a little bit of skin in the game. So we're bringing back those old school Survivor style pools. So everybody is going to pick 4 contestants. Every single week that each individual one of your contestants survives, you're going to score 1 point. And at the end of the season, the person who scores the most points is going to get a prize. So who's going to actually win a prize? The person who subscribes to the channel and has the most points is going to get a prize. The viewer, whether or not the subscriber or not, who scores the most points is going to win a prize. And the Revive staff member who gets the most points is also going to win a prize. Now, here's the kicker. Every single person, viewer or subscriber that participates in the game, if they beat every Revive staff member, all of those people are going to be put into a pool, and we are going to randomly select 3 more people out of that pool. So even if you don't get the highest point value among the subscribers or the viewers, you could still win a prize just by beating all of the Revive staff. I have to be honest, the Revive staff, they really like this show. They're really into it. So I think they might be a difficult crowd of people to beat. But we'll see what happens. So what does it mean to be a subscriber? You must subscribe to our channel before the start of episode 2. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. We appreciate it. But in order to be considered a subscriber for the purposes of this game, you need to be a subscriber as of the start of episode 2 and still be a subscriber as of the last episode. Now, how do you get your picks in? You're going to get your picks in by commenting on this video who your 4 people are. We're going to keep a record of all of those. We got ourselves a nice little Google Sheet that we'll share with you all eventually. It's going to calculate all the points up, and that's it. And we will keep tabs on as we go, and we'll give little notifications and scoreboards as time goes on. So that's our game. Get involved, comment quickly, make sure that you get in, subscribe, so you could actually win twice potentially. If you're the subscriber and you're the high point value getter, you actually win twice. So hurry up, put your comments down there, hurry up and hit that subscribe button.
Therapist perception.
Bachelorette. Hello and welcome back to Reactivity TV. I'm Amy Albero and I'm a licensed therapist.
I am Chris. Yes, I am still here. No one's more shocked than I am.
Well, I am thrilled to have you back. We had a good time.
It had moments. Golden Bachelor, I gotta say, after 1 episode so far of Joey's season, I'm fond of the old Golden Bachelor days.
the days gone by just a few weeks ago.
The bygone era of a simpler time and of a more civil society, perhaps. Yeah.
I have to. It probably wasn't fair for you to start with Golden Bachelor because it really set the bar. But spoiler, I thought this was a great first episode of The Bachelor compared to the other ways that this show typically starts. I thought they took some notes from Golden Bachelor and they applied them forward. And so while opening night is probably like my least favorite episode of the season, I was pleased. So.
Oh, okay. So I got some responses to that. If this is a high mark for the premiere of a season, how did this show survive 28 seasons? Oh, no, and second, if they took notes from Golden Bachelor, they are the worst students ever.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Clearly, we're going to have a lot to talk about. But before we do, please be sure to hit that like button at the bottom of this video. And also please subscribe to our YouTube channel. These are 2 very, very small things, but they go such a long way. And if you've already done those things, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and please also hit that bell icon so that you're alerted anytime we post new content to the channel.
Okay, so what we're doing here is we're calling it Reactivity TV, and it's where me as a therapist, I give my therapist reactions, and you as a non-therapist.
That's a smart person. Insightful.
Sure. And Bachelor newbie, give your reactions as well. Okay, before we get into the actual episode, I want to make sure that I start this season of Reactivity TV like we did so many other times in the Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise episodes of Reactivity TV. This disclaimer is super important, and it's that what we're really commenting on is simply what we see on a very produced TV show with a cast of characters. So we're not commenting, assessing, judging people's like actual personalities or their actual character. We don't know them. We don't know enough to do any of that. So we're really just commenting on and considering people's decisions or behaviors, reactions that we're seeing on TV.
All right, so let me just open up with a basic question. Um, Only having last season's VIP and last season's Golden as data points, who is Joey? We saw him for 10 seconds at a pickleball game. We saw nothing of his personality. He didn't really get any time. Seemed rather bland to me at that. And you said, no, he's actually got great personality. They're just not having him overshine Gary. So who is he? How did he get here? Why was he picked?
Okay, great questions. I'm gonna reach back into my memory because charity season at this point feels like decades ago. But essentially, Joey is, well, he is a 28-year-old single guy, originally from Philly. He had gone to Hawaii where he worked as a tennis pro, and that was kind of a main facets of his character that we knew about from charity season. On charity season, he was a front runner from night one. Everyone's rooting for him. He's a very attractive guy, sweet personality guy, unproblematic dude, was never really part of the drama. As a viewer, he seemed like a high character type of guy. It had escaped my memory until we were watching the premiere that he was Charity's runner-up. I had somehow just forgotten that. And I don't know if it's because it just seemed like Dotun had it in the bag that I just put Joey out of my mind as a possibility for Charity. But as we saw on the premiere last night, like he did actually go to the final rose ceremony, got ready to get down on one knee and propose. And so Joey's Bachelor interview seems to parallel a lot of what we see in the previews for the season, is worrying that his care and love for someone else will not be reciprocated. So it seems like that's a really nice story and really nice narrative for the show to pull on, and one that's highly relatable. And I think that is what it is for Joey, is that, and I think he says this in the intro packages as well, like he's just a regular guy. Like he's a normal dude. Like, and I think, I mean, a very attractive normal dude, but I think that is also sort of what we as viewers tend to really enjoy, is someone that could be your friend or your brother or something like that, like someone you know.
Interesting. I mean, initial take, he does seem like just a kind of a nice guy. I understand what you say, sort of like unproblematic and just sort of going to stay out of the drama. He kind of seems like that type.
And let me just add, not you, we as viewers kind of want that from a Bachelor, because the Bachelor season isn't about the Bachelor. It's about the women. And so you want a relatively blank slate as a Bachelor who doesn't necessarily take up that much room to allow for the women to do their thing. And so like sometimes for the Bachelor to be like too big of a star or too big of a presence, the equilibrium of the show feels off.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a show that, let's be honest, is made for women. I mean, TV in and of itself is generally made for women. This is no exception to that. And so what you're saying is that the Bachelorette is about the Bachelorette and the Bachelor is about the contestants. At the end of the day, it's all about the women. That checks out. That seems to make sense to me completely. And I do kind of agree. Like, he does feel kind of like a blank slate. Like, I watched the entire episode. I saw a backstory. I don't think I know a single thing about him. He's just sort of very bland. He's sort of like drinking tap water. And that's probably fine, right? Because it gave a lot of room for what we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Can I ask, do you mean that critically?
Well, I mean, would you want to date tap water? Would you want to be friends with tap water? Would you want to go catch a ball game with tap water? I mean, the answer is, like, for a show like this, he's probably good. For a woman who's truly ready to settle down and truly wants to be married, yeah, he's tap water. He's great. He's but I mean, let's be honest, most of these women in this show are probably not actually ready to be married, and so
we'll come back to that
he's not going to work out with most of them because he's not going to, at the end of the day, probably be exciting enough, or he's not going to have a strong enough personality to hang when
Well,
push comes to shove.
that is something that I will be kind of looking out for this season is that the strong personality. That was one of my biggest criticism of Gary, was that he had um a soft front and a weak back. And I was really hoping that Gary would grow a stronger back. And for this job as the lead of this season, like, you need to have a soft front and a strong back, especially with some of the dynamics that we already see playing out in the house. I hope that we see some assertion from Joey, some ability to contain from Joey. But I have to say, and I don't mean this like the plight of a man or anything like that, but I don't envy the role of the Bachelor at all. We see so much on this franchise, like the double standard around like what the female contestants are able to kind of get away with, or what is allowed to fly on the Bachelorette. And whereas like if that stuff were to try to happen on the Bachelor, like it would just never fly. And so I also like, I think some of the tap water that you probably see, or that we all see, is like, it is a kind of delicate situation. You're meeting 32 women. Like, how much do you talk about how attracted you are to them without being criticized for objectifying them all? All of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think there probably is a hesitancy or a tentativeness to actually be yourself, especially early on in the process.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of that. Okay, so let's get into kind of opening thoughts. We've got Joey is outside the mansion. Teal suit, got to be honest. I couldn't pull it off. Not my thing, but looks sharp. He looks like a tennis pro from Hawaii in that teal suit, right? Jesse, on the other hand, I mean, big ups to Jesse. He looks fantastic. Even he had a little bit of a texture going on. Hard to see. You had to have an HD TV to see it. But I mean, Jesse looking sharp as always.
Jesse's been getting my rose like every week for the last several weeks. Like, I'm so in on
I'm
Jesse.
not sure he did anything in this episode. I don't actually remember anything other than the 10 seconds he was standing there at the very beginning with the suit.
That's
and
all
it
we
was so
need.
bad. It was all we needed. Good job, Jesse. Excellent as always.
Well, we can't forget the dropping of the first.
He did.
impression
He
rose
dropped the
and-
first impression rose. Add that value in
and,
there. Yep.
Ladies, Joey, this is the final rose of the
Yep.
evening.
Yep. And at the end, get out.
Mhm.
Yep. So no. So
This is hardest working episode.
he's literally he was really churning it out. I mean, this is nothing compared to the episode with Gary bawling. I mean, this one was clearly way harder. But no. So we open up as is the nature of this show with the limos. So give you real quick. I know you kind of led off with a little bit, but your overall quick thought on, in its totality, the limo entrances.
Okay, so I feel like the producers took notes from Golden Bachelor and applied them here. Because again, you've never watched this before. So even before the limo entrances, the beginning portion of this package, I guess, here's what I loved. I love the cold open. I love that we kick the season off with drama. I love seeing behind the fourth wall. I loved it. They did that almost every episode with Gary. Gets me hooked, gets me in. I love it. Thank you for giving us that on night one. Now we know what we're building up to. Chris knows I'm someone who loves knowing the ending because I like to piece back together how it happened. And not that we necessarily know the ending, but like, I love starting there. So they did that throughout Gary's season. Great. I loved seeing it in Joey's. The limo entrances and intro packages. So this is usually why I hate this episode, because that portion can linger on for sometimes an hour and a half of like a very long Joey intro. And then like a lot of women get packages, and then more emphasis on the limo entrances. And that whole portion from beginning to limo entrances was 40 minutes with commercials. Like, thank you. I appreciated that. We didn't need to see long drawn out limo entrances. And so that's what I really liked about it, was that portion was condensed, and therefore we got a lot more in the cocktail party. And so that's what I care about. Like the limo entrances, the first impressions in that vein is so boring to me. However, what made this even more boring to me is that I found the women's energy to be quite low. my notes for nearly every woman were like, this is boring, this is awkward, low energy. That was the consistent theme with like very few exceptions. And it made me compare Golden Bachelor entrances and how memorable those were and those women were. And to these women where it seemed like I felt like on a lawnmower where you like have to like pull the cord to make the engine run. Like that's what I felt like I wanted to do to all of these women to like kind of like, come on, like give me a little, give me a little more.
Yeah.
So that was a very long response to overall positive trajectory, but like still pretty friggin' boring.
I agree that if they used to be longer, then I would also be very happy that they were shorter. The 40 minutes felt like 4 hours. I I only have it to compare against Golden, and the entrances on Golden I thought were a little stupid. But compared to this, I would take that every single day. Like these girls, to your point, had no energy, zero creativity. Most of them did not make their marks at all. There were so many just duds. It was for me, it was like, what is going on here? Like, come on, give me something more interesting or move it along. So yeah, I'm kind of happy. This feels like a production miss. They've done this 28 times plus whatever they've done with the Bachelorettes, which is another however many. So 50 times we'll say they've done this. And that's what production let these girls go out and do. Yeah, it was a big miss across the board. There were very, very few standouts for me on any level, and there were more that I just completely did not like. So give me your standouts. Who stood out to you
Okay. Who stood out to me in any
in
way?
either direction? Yeah.
So I guess who I remember the most, Autumn. I remembered her. She had a very vibrant dress, and she also like kind of flubbed the intro, but she ran with it. And I'll come back to my feelings about Autumn in a second, but I thought that was really memorable. And her name is relatively memorable and how she paired it to the seasons. So I liked that, and she wore a vibrant dress.
But first rule of any sort of debate or anything like that, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. And if you're going to ask a question where you need a specific answer, you need to lead the witness. Fail on that part. I agree. Had it worked, it would have been really cute.
But she was so agile. She said,
Yeah.
I'm hoping by the end of this you can fall for Autumn. And it's like,
Sure.
girl, good girl, like thinking on your feet. I love to see agility and adaptability that way.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think she made the most of it, but I would have liked to have seen a little more. Like most people are not like me and think fall is a great season. Most people not a big fan of it, right? Yeah, I feel like unless your name is spring or summer, the cards are stacked against you getting a response in your favor there. So I would have advised her to maybe lead the witness a little bit more. But
Second memorable entrance was Jen, who came in on the go-kart. And I thought I liked that she sort of delayed gratification a little bit and like did a donut and like locked his interest. And I remembered that. So she was kind of top of mind. And I hate to say this, but my third most memorable entrance was Jess. If you watched our reactivity TV to Bachelor in Paradise, wasn't a fan of that Jess. Spoiler, not a fan of this one either. And I don't actually think she's going for like getting the audience love. She's gearing for a villain edit, but she had the boat, and so for whatever, I guess I'm really into modes of transportation, but that stuck out to me as well.
Yeah, like I said, there were not many that really stuck out to me that were all that interesting. I agree, Jen. I really actually liked Jen's because it was high energy. We were salivating for high energy. And she came out, she was spunky, she was cute, pretty dressed, the whole thing. Like it just worked. And it was at least a little bit memorable, especially compared to the rest of the crowd. Leah, Leia, hers was memorable because, and I got a lot of thoughts on her this episode. But and they get progressively less positive as the episode goes on. But for what she did in the intro, in the limo entrance, nailed it, right? she had an advantage. She had the card. She, sits there and basically guarantees herself a conversation later because he's curious about this card. It's all levered up. It's perfect for her. She keeps it a little bit, tight to the vest. I thought it was an excellent example of how to make a mark while being understated, and guaranteeing yourself some one-on-one time later. Really, truly, that was one of the best executions, I think, the best execution of all of them. But the problem is there weren't any standouts, really. They were all just so boring, that's hard to pick any kind of in either direction, quite frankly.
We did get a few intro packages. We got one for Daisy, who had the cochlear ear implant. We got one for Lexi, who shared that she may have difficulty having kids and she really wants to have a family. We got one from Maria, which I forget what her point was, other than she was talking to her dog.
Yeah, Maria is. I think she's gonna probably go decently far in this competition, because I think the producers are gonna enjoy having her around with her commentary.
Yeah, I could see Maria being our narrator, maybe like a little extra entertainment. As annoying as I kind of found her, I also found myself kind of being grateful for like the injection of energy or commentary or kind of light humor, as compared to Jess, who had a different kind of energy, but just like felt like it just kind of dragged everything down. So yeah, I initially started with kind of an annoyance around Maria, but like grew to sort of appreciate and see what would happen. She's not winning this thing, but I do agree that she'll be around for a while.
Yeah, I don't really get her whole thing. None of Maria felt genuine to me. It all felt performative.
It did feel very performative.
All felt like she's here for the clout. And I kind of got her pegged there already. Maybe I'll be wrong. Who knows? But it just didn't feel like anything she was doing I was interested in. But on the other hand, Joey seemed to take at least a moderate liking to her.
They had a good makeout.
They had a good makeout, and they did seem to have a little bit of chemistry there.
He liked that she was a little bit of a spitfire and that she was unpredictable. So,
and I think we're seeing that. He definitely is not looking for a boring, girl. So one person who was noteworthy by not being noteworthy was actually Lexi, who started us off. And so here's my big complaint with Lexi. She was supposed to be our pace setter, right? She's supposed to be the tone setter, the first one out. Let's contrast her versus Edith from last Golden Bachelor season. Edith came out, an understated but memorable thing. She popped the little thing, we're getting this party started, beautiful gold dress, and in the house she goes. Here it is months later. I still remember that, even though she didn't go that far in the competition. Lexi came out and did nothing, literally nothing. She said, "Hey, I'm here, hug, in the house we go," right? And that's it. And it goes back to something that we had talked a lot about in Bachelor in Paradise with, Kylie and Tanner and some of these others. And that is kind of the young, hot person problem, right? When you are so attractive, because let's face facts, right? In my opinion, which is an objective fact, Lexi is the most attractive of the 32. And I don't think it's particularly close. She's a beautiful young woman. And I wonder if it's a similar situation. Do you remember at Bachelor in Paradise, the first rose ceremony, there were the three girls, Pat with a C and the girl
Brooklyn.
with Brooklyn and the G name, Gretchen, Gertrude, whatever. And we had commented at that point, these girls are doing absolutely nothing to acquire a rose career. Is it because they have just literally never had to flirt, never had to date, and they just all have hot girl problems where they've never been in a situation where they need to kind of fight for the attraction of a man? And I almost wonder, is that where Lexi is? Because even when we saw her later on, when the one-on-one, there was a little more personality, but still nothing. And she's not the only one who's guilty of this. I definitely think that we saw several other girls. But if you actually kind of track the girls who seem to put in less effort, a lot of them were ones that are probably by standard societal standards, on the more attractive end of the group, right? And so I'm going to be watching that to see, because I think that's going to be really interesting, because Joey seems to be somebody who wants a girl with a personality.
Mhm.
You know, if you look at the girls that he has shown interest in, they are girls who want to be adventurous. They're girls who don't mind getting up and moving, who want to participate in activities. That's clearly where he's at. Um, and so I think some of these girls are going to have
Mhm.
to start coming out of their shell a little bit and demonstrating who
Mhm.
they are
Mhm.
as people and their more adventurous sides, or else I think they're going nowhere quickly.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast to contrast Lexi with those three women on BIP, Greer, Brooklyn, and Kat, because I feel like the dynamics were obviously quite different, and you literally saw them when there were matches to be made and multiple men to be potentially talking to, like them literally just sitting back in a corner. Where I find that it's hard to make the comparison is like on Bachelor, Bachelorette, it's possible that Lexi just might not be suited to
Mhm.
this kind of environment. It might take a while. She might be slow to warm, right?
Yeah.
And I could see that. She seems like maybe a little bit more reserved. Um, and she might be better on one-on-one settings. It will be interesting. What I'm looking for is that like how does she do in a group setting? How does she do in a group date, especially early on when the group dates are going to be quite large? Is she more passive and waiting for Joey to come to her? Does she, and not just Lexi, most of the women, as you said, were like quite reserved. So it'll be really interesting to see who rises to the occasion, who thrives in this setting. But honestly, a lot of the women that like tend to fall into the background are the most quote unquote normal,
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
because it takes a specific type of personality to like not only
Put
go on
themselves out
TV,
there.
but put themselves out there enough to be like at the forefront of TV, knowing that
Yeah.
millions of people are watching.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's probably the case that most of the most reserved that get the least amount of airtime are probably actually would be the best wives or girlfriends or husbands or what have you, whatever
Mhm.
side you're on. Yeah. So anyway, I would like to see a little bit more from her and some of the other
Mhm.
girls that are reserved. And I wonder how many of these really boring openings and limo entrances were really a result of kind of that shyness or how much of it
Yeah.
was just really just being young and not really knowing what to do and how to stand out.
Well, okay. So two things. One, I hope we don't have another casting problem on our hands here, where I feel like we had a casting problem with BIP and
Oof.
and so like I hope that we don't have a casting problem where like we do get what we came here for, which is drama, some personality. Like I hope that there are enough women on the show that can come out of their shells and give us a TV show.
Mhm.
So that's one thing that I want to say about these women. The second you just hit on is like one of the things that was so disappointing to me when watching any content prior to the season and then was reinforced by these limo entrances is how much I missed the women of the Golden Bachelorette
Yes.
knowing themselves, feeling comfortable in their skin, having something to say. Like these women are what 23 to 31. They're
Literally a third of the ages of
yeah,
some of the Golden
and it
Bachelor. Yeah,
shows.
absolutely shows.
And
Yeah.
and so that was just like so sort of disappointing. And it made me so grateful that they did that they gave us Golden Bachelor. So we got to experience that side of things. But it was just like profoundly disappointing to like just be wanting more and knowing that we could have it.
Can I make a statement that is either going to be uh, wildly controversial, wildly cringy, or wildly profound?
Sure.
Okay. Um, I am 40 years old, for those who are not aware. So we have 20 and early 30 somethings on this show, and we had 60 and 70-year-olds on Golden.
Oh God, where are you going with this?
There are more Golden Bachelorettes that I would take on a date than there are girls on season 28 of The Bachelor.
They are still women, but they're very young.
They're half my age. They're girls still. I'm sorry. Like, when I got that many years on you. But yes, I'm sorry, women. But yes, yeah, there are more based on what I've seen just on the premiere alone. There are more of the Golden Bachelorettes that I would be jumping at the bit or chomping at the bit or whatever the
Mhm.
phrase is to take on a date versus
I mean, the fact that I can rattle off a number of the Golden Bachelorette's limo entrances and can't with notes right next to me.
I watched it
Recall-
twice, made notes, and I still can't think of most of them. Yeah. It's brutal.
So like I think, like I said at the beginning, like that it seemed like they took note, the producers or showrunners took notes. Like I hope that we get more. Not, I mean, maybe it's a golden bachelorette, some or bachelor, someone in their 60s, 70s, but like I wouldn't mind a 50s or 40s. I like the maturity that we were getting, and the depth that it brings to the show and the conversations. So obviously we're gonna like work with what we have here. And again, I think it's gonna be a great season based on what we got on the premiere episode. I just want to take a quick pause to tell you that Revive is hiring. In our Miami and Pittsburgh offices, we have full and part-time W-2 and 1099 clinician positions available, and this includes both postgraduate and associate level licenses, in addition to fully licensed clinicians. In our Connecticut offices, we have full-time, fully licensed W-2 clinician positions available, including clinical supervisor opportunities. If you are interested in working for a company that values community, work-life balance, and your personal and professional growth, then we want to meet you. Find a link to our website in our bio.
All right, so let's transition over to the cocktail party, because that's where the bulk of the meat was. And there's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, and a bunch of individuals. So my initial thoughts on this were, what a shit show, really, honestly. Between Leia behaving the way she behaved, Jess behaving the way she behaved, Taylor, it was, I was
The sisters.
the sister. I got a lot to talk about in the sisters. I'm so confused. Like, grow up, everybody. Like everybody. Like this is a cocktail party where I feel like everybody was showing their age. Why was Leia crying and freaking out? Like, you got a boon. You can use it or you don't. Let's start with Leia. I want to, because this really frustrates me. All right. So this reminded me of basically the only other TV show I watch, and that is Gordon, Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen. What happens in Hell's Kitchen? In the last few seasons, you can have like immunity from a punishment. You can go and you can do the go on the award of the other team, right? Well, that's effectively what Leia got here. And what happens oftentimes is somebody's like, no, you know what? We win as a team, we lose a team, ride or die. Like, I'm not ever going to use this. And there have been many seasons where somebody has an immunity pass and they do not use it the entire season. And that is a respectable thing that they choose to do. That's all Leia had to do. What were the theatrics? What was the crying and the freaking out? And it's just like, the whole thing was, to me, so unbelievably off-putting, because it showed a lack of maturity. It showed, like, if you're going to cry, when you were given a boon that you have the option to use and you can't regulate your emotions, and you feel like it warrants to do this kind of level of crying, like, I am out on you. I don't, stay as far away from me and my home as possible. So that was my take. Also, she specifically said to Joey, I'm going to open this with you together. And then she does it. She opens it on her own. So she's now also demonstrated a lack of trustworthiness as well.
You're pathologizing this a little bit. So I'll give you.
Okay, go ahead. You give me, your take on the entire thing.
Okay. So first, my Amy as a human take is going to be a little different than my Amy as a therapist take.
Okay.
My Amy as a human take was similar. Like, wow, this is a lot of crying. Definitely shows a lack of maturity, a lack of readiness to be married. Where my therapist take is not very different than that. It's a little bit more nuanced and deeper, which is, she's 23. This is a very stressful evening. We see it goes into the hours in the morning where it's light out. So it's quite a long day. Alcohol's involved. I don't know whether or not she drank. So like, the circumstances around this whole night are the makings of a dumpster fire emotionally.
Sure.
It's just like
by design.
By design, exactly. So we have all that, and again, and she's 23 and doesn't have, I'm making an assumption, as much life experience as, say, a Susan. And so she might not have as much emotional resiliency as, someone in their 60s or 70s.
Sure.
Okay. So what I think was probably going on for Leia is clearly anxiety is so high.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like she must be a viewer of the show, because I could imagine her opening this thing, forecasting into the future, and thinking about how awful this was going to be for her / the house when she executed on this. It would be terrible, because these women are
Absolutely
not nice. And so I could see her feeling so overwhelmed with just the idea, the what ifs that could happen if she uses this card. And I think the anxiety of unknown and not knowing what's in there is probably what prompted her to open it before Joey. Like, she just couldn't wait. And so like that was the tell for me that she was just feeling very, very anxious. Like, she couldn't let it linger any longer. She had to know what she didn't know. And I think her reaction was almost an overly empathetic one to the other women in the house.
Yep.
Probably tells a lot about her conflict avoidance, the way she deals with confrontation, how much of a people pleaser she is. So we learned a lot about Leia from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't appreciate, so one thing that she says to Joey is essentially like, if I'm your person, I shouldn't need this.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, that might be true, but we are not dealing with regular circumstances. We are dealing with a circumstance where every second counts. People get engaged on the show. They maybe spend 4 hours together from front to back. Like, it's not that much time.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 hours is hyperbolic, but it's not that much time. Like, it's not more than 24 hours. I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's a stat out there. Someone comment on it. But it's not a lot of time. And so like, when every minute counts, and if you are really here for the right reasons to find your partner, for you and him to suss out if you guys are together, why would you not want to capitalize on every opportunity there is to roll in or roll that out? I just, that to me, it was like, on the surface sounded like, yeah, okay, that's noble. But like, if you're there intentionally to date, to get married, then I no longer believe you.
If you're Joey, that is a meaningful set of events that just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he played it off like, oh, that, I see you telling me all about your character and all this other stuff. I think Joey was in a tough spot in this episode. Because I think he's trying, this goes back to the soft front, weak back.
This was a Gary move.
It felt like a Gary move. Yeah.
I know we're jumping ahead to first impression rose, but it was giving Gary. It was giving Gary when Gary gave the date rose to Sandra when she skipped her daughter's wedding to stay there. It was giving Gary when he gave Zip It, Kathy a rose as well. It's like, can we not do this?
Yeah, let's not reward questionable behavior. Let's not reward people for perceived sacrifices.
It's not rewarding, it's appeasing.
Yeah.
Or using a rose to comfort in that way.
Yeah.
Leia could have still gotten, she could have gotten the first rose of the rose ceremony, but it just felt, that was like such a, like, I was like, oh no, please don't let that be the way that the rest of the season is going to go. That is very weak back to me.
Yeah, I didn't like any of it. And quite frankly, so she goes and she does throw this thing in the fire, and there's a whole big to-do about that. And even just the way she dealt with it with the rest of the girls, how it had to be a big production. We spent a lot of time on Leia, so I don't want to spend too much more. But long story short, I don't think she's going far.
It wouldn't shock me if she self-eliminates due to the...
Oh, yeah, I don't think she's going far. I don't think that Joey is going to be interested in putting up with that level of immaturity and that just not readiness and that level of anxiety. It just gets exhausting really, really quickly. Hey, everybody. Sorry for the interjection, but I wanted to let you know that we had some technical issues and the audio gets a little bit rough from here on out. It's still salvageable, listenable, but I know it's not really great quality. So we are very sorry for that. We are working on it. We're trying to get some new equipment so this doesn't happen in the future. So please bear with us, but we appreciate you watching this far, and hopefully you stick around. There's some really exciting stuff later on. And we get in some really interesting discussions. So thank you all for bearing with us, and we promise to do better.
I mean, I'm with you. One of the things that Joey specifically said he's looking for is a woman who is comfortable in her own skin. someone who is self-assured, right? And we weren't really seeing that from Leia in just the way that she dealt with this one card, which, by the way, again, production, love that you were trying to do something a little different here. I'm sorry it didn't, work out as you hoped it would, but like, A for effort.
In fairness, it almost never works on Hell's Kitchen either. So like, they're not the first to try this immunity thing or this, like steel thing. Doesn't work in Hell's Kitchen either.
But no, I argue that it does because it's a quiet strength of character that they do.
Sure,
they don't make a big production over or like have this like righteous indignation around like not using it. If they threw this in the fire, Gordon Ramsay would fire their ass.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, like for being.
And technically, I think they would burn it on the stove or something, or maybe throw it in the fire in the wood burning pizza oven thing. Oh God, I want pizza. I agree with you there. Generally, but again, those are generally a little bit older. You tend to be in your late 20s, early 30s, sometimes even into your 40s and stuff like that. So just people at different stage of life. But okay, so you did bring up some stuff that Joey had talked about that he wanted, specifically knowing people that are comfortable in their own skin. And I do want to pause on that for a second because I do want to identify who are the people that he seems into on night one. Maria, who I think is obnoxious, but is there anybody who seems to just be more comfortable in her own skin? Jess, who is awful. Unapologetic though, and just goes for it. Allison, one of the sisters, who you compared, and I want to talk about the sisters on a separate topic in a few minutes here, but very clearly he is into Allison, and of the two sisters, she's the one who is comfortable in her own skin.
She had the first rose of the night.
She had the first rose of the night, exactly. And I think that you'd say Leia could have gotten the first rose. I don't think they could. I think production was going to make sure that the way it played out was going to play out. But regardless of that, there are 22 roses that were handed out on night one. What does it matter when you get it, as long as you get one, right? So yeah, it's very clear that the ones that he kissed versus the ones that he didn't kiss, the ones that he really seemed to have a spark with. The other one, Daisy, was another one. Clearly had a connection with Daisy, and she's somebody who has gone through some a little bit more than a lot of the other girls, it appears, and seems to really know herself a little bit better because of the fact that she has gone through a hearing loss situation and things of that nature. These are the girls that he is clearly interested in. It's not just his words; he is actually demonstrating it for us. And so, yeah, I think a lot of these girls, the Lexis and the Leias, are probably. They're not going to make it too far, I don't think. Do we want to talk about the sisters now, or do you want to talk about somebody else?
No, we can talk about the sisters now.
Okay. Allison and Lauren. All right. I got so many thoughts on these two. The first is, and you tell me where I'm being too harsh and critical and where I'm being fair.
Sure.
But
I'm just pulling up their bios.
Bios? Yeah. Okay. So Lauren is the older sister.
She's 28.
Yep. And then you have Allison.
She's an RN.
Yep. And then you have Allison, who's the younger sister. I'm going to say 24.
She's 26.
26, okay.
She's a realtor.
Realtor, okay. In Pennsylvania.
In Philly.
Philly's a little bit far from Pittsburgh, but hey, Allison, if you're watching, looking for a place in Pittsburgh, so what that 6 hours, 6 hour 4 hour drive. I don't know. Somebody from Pennsylvania tell me how far Philly is. Okay, Lauren is clearly insecure, and we've already talked about it. Joey is not going to pick Lauren. He's not going to. But here's the important thing. Look at the character, or not the character, look at the way that they carry themselves. Allison, it's about her, what she wants, and what she's interested in. She is not considering the other girls, including her sister. All Lauren is doing is focusing on what is happening with Allison. Allison came in, and while her entry was completely non-memorable, right? Lauren's entrance, she's shotgunning a beer. Now,
hold on, I want to back up.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought Allison's entrance was memorable, and it was overlaid by Joey saying some of the entrances were more memorable than others, and I really like the entrances where I get to learn something about the women, and then it goes to Allison saying, I, have a number of siblings, so I'm used to sharing, essentially, is what she said. And so I thought that was an interesting, overlay of, and again, the juxtaposition too of Allison and what she led with, a little bit more personal, a little bit more vulnerable, told something about herself. Lauren shotgunned a beer, and my just general, I'm with you 100%. Allison has a bit of like a quiet confidence about her, where Lauren seemed more insecure. In our at Revive, we have a group chat going, and we, while watching the episode, and our collective therapist take was Lauren's actually not really there to date.
No.
And none of her behavior, none of her choices, none of her actions, none of her words really lined up with the stated purpose of dating. Like, she just doesn't seem there, like she's there to date, where I believe that Allison is.
All right, so not to speak too far ahead, but at the rose ceremony, the sisters end up bookending. Allison gets the first rose. That's not really that big a surprise, because Allison, seems to be somebody that Joey's actually interested in, and then Lauren, gets the final rose. I'm just going to call it right now. Lauren was a production pick. I don't think Joey is interested at all in her. He has not demonstrated interest. The way that she has engaged with him is contra to what he has stated he's interested in. Also, is what we've seen of the girls that he seems to have a spark with. She's just not, sharing a lot of those behaviors or characteristics. My question to you is, as an avid, viewer of this show, is production keeping the sisters around, or keeping Lauren around specifically, just so that they can send them on a double date and force Joey to pick one up, a 2-on-1?
Could be. I mean, it could be a drama pick in that way. Sometimes I find like the show tries to fetishize like we've had twins. First pair of twins were like two blonde, blue-eyed female twins, Ben Higgins season. And then more recently we had like two young, actually boy twins from Connecticut. And so on Gabby and Rachel season. And so sometimes it feels like they're trying to add this element of taboo or something. And so there was this part of me that was trying to think are you trying to sexualize this somehow by having sisters on? And just adding that element to it. I don't know if that says something about me, that my mind goes there. Would love to hear your thoughts.
No, I think that's fair, because when you think about movies and stuff like that, various different TV shows, I'm on record, I've said it already once, TV is made for women, it's not really made for men. And you do see this kind of as a constant theme, but it does feel like one of those things where it's something that women think about. Men don't think that hard. A girl is a girl, whether it's a sister or a mother. A girl is a girl to guys, and I'm sure that there's a guy out there who's I'd love to hook up with sisters, but I don't really necessarily think that that's a big fetish thing. Guys aren't that deep, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody put in the Revive chat, is this a thing? How would he respond? Is he do you think he's into it? It's he's into pretty girls that share common interests with him, and if they happen to be related, they happen to be related. He's not thinking beyond that. That's way too deep.
From a female dating perspective, it would be such a no-no to date brothers.
Yeah, no, guys, that's not a thing. That's I actually dated my brother's ex.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, couple of them. Yeah, yeah, it happens. Yeah, small town type of situation. Anyway.
But I would love to see a 2-on-1 with the sisters. I think that'd be great.
I mean, but the problem is, it's sort of stupid, because Lauren is not winning that. He's not interested in Lauren.
It would be a waste of
it. It'd be a complete waste, and there's no drama. The only drama is
the sisters battling
the sisters battling out, but it's not even a competition, because as you point out, you don't even think Lauren's there to date. And he's clearly not interested in her. She gave him the opening for the kiss, and he's absolutely not. So the reality is, he figured out that they were sisters very, very quickly. And the second he figured out that they were sisters, He knows he's on a TV show being blasted to millions of people. He immediately identified the one that he's interested in, and shut the other one down. He is ice cold on Lauren. He's not putting her on the list of people to give a rose to.
Mm-hmm.
She's there by the grace of the producers, and that is it. So it'd be a waste to give her 2-on-1, but I could feel like production really desperately trying, and that's what I'd be really interested to see is how far are they going to push it, and how far are they going to facilitate it, and at some point does Joey as a lead just be like, hey, Fetch isn't happening. Is that from that movie? Is that the thing?
Fetch?
Yeah, Fetch. Was that a movie that you watched?
Oh, Mean Girls.
Was that the one?
Stop trying to make Fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Fetch is not going to happen. Yeah. Okay. So I got that right.
Yeah.
All right.
Close. Okay, let's move on to other dynamics in the house that stem from Jess.
Yes.
So Jess initially kind of comes off as this like cool girl,
No,
fun
she doesn't.
girl.
No, she doesn't.
She's the one who arrives on the boat, and she basically talks with Joey about like how she essentially just like wants to travel and like be like that kind of.
Is there anybody less genuine than her on this entire on the whole intro first premiere?
Oh, Joey was buying what she was selling, which okay. So then we see this like turn of a personality of like who she is with Joey is very different than what we see with the women, and I fucking love when this happens. My most favorite time this has ever happened was when the Bachelor, Ben Flajnik, chose the villain as his winner because she was so good, her name was Courtney, at playing both sides. She was so wonderful individually, to the women. She was a monster, and then of
I
course,
don't think Jess is going to be that slick.
no, she's not that maniacal. She's not going to be that good at it, but like I kind of love it when this happens. Hannah Brown, her front runner, she was so into, and then like we and the other guys got to see like, oh, this dude sucks, and like then we have the famous podium scene when Hannah Brown like finally figures it out. So like as a viewer, we kind of love this shit.
Okay.
So like I'm not rooting for Jess, but like she's gonna make this show really interesting. If and like this is where like Joey has to play it just right. It would be boring if he eliminates her next week. Like we need her.
Production would let her.
But it depends. Like sometimes you almost have too strong of a bachelor that like gets rid of shit too quickly. Where it's like that. No, we're here for the.
I mean, the
drama.
one good thing about being the lead is that if you just choose to eliminate somebody, like outside of a rose ceremony, what is production going to do, right? Not air it, like so you are in a situation where you do have that kind of power. Yeah.
So we need just enough of Jess to where it's not like we don't need a 5-episode story arc for her.
Yeah.
I'll take 3.
Okay.
Even three might be.
I don't want 3, but okay.
3 might be a little much. But like when it goes on for longer than 3, it's like enough already. And if it's done in 1, it's like it's a tease. So
Sure. Okay.
I digress. So Jess essentially has this good connection with Joey. She gets what we see, and what she tells us is the first kiss of the night. And then she goes back in and tells the women that she had a smooch with Joey and gives some details unprompted. And that's what starts this drama. And then we see this like different personality.
Yeah, we see she was looking to stir some trouble. I don't really understand. This is a gender dynamic. I don't really understand. I wouldn't share that information. But I also don't understand why everyone would like freak out over the information. It's like, oh, that's shitty of you to do. You really shouldn't say that, but like
insecurity is running so high.
The alcohol, the anxiety, and just the fact that you haven't slept, and it just builds. I can kind of get that, but just practically speaking, it was a shitty thing for her to do. But I also thought the responses from the other women were just like,
think about just in recent experience what we've had. Golden Bachelor, Teresa
and Kathy.
Yeah, Teresa and Kathy. That was a whole thing. Braden on Charity season flipped the fuck out because on a group date that he wasn't even on, Charity kissed, I think, Sean in front of everybody as like part of the date. And he was like, that was so disrespectful that, that would happen in front of everybody. So like, this is a thing that happens.
Sure.
And like, I think it depends on what you can infer from the intention of sharing the information. Like Teresa, it seemed a little harmless. It seemed like she was just like chatting with her girlfriends about what happened
Sure. Yeah.
on the date.
Kind
She
of.
wants to
She's
talk
just
about it.
oblivious to
Jess
social
came
cues.
in wanting to detonate a bomb.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And there was another girl, I don't remember who it was, but they had kissed and she'd come back and somebody says, "Did you kiss?" And she, it was a little peck. It was nothing, which it wasn't. But like that, I would argue is a more appropriate way to handle that. Like, don't lie. You could. The response is, "I'm not a kiss and tell type person. Like, I'm not interested in asking other people, and I'm just not going to answer when people ask me." That's perfectly legit. And also just downplaying and making it less than it actually was, also acceptable. I feel like lying.
good boundaries.
Good boundaries, yeah. But yeah, I agree. Jess was looking to detonate a bomb. So now the whole Taylor thing happened. So Taylor she's an interesting personality.
I just need to insert, and this will come back later
Sure.
at the end of our episode. So there are some common phrases that are rampant in this franchise to the point where they're like, it's almost humorous.
Okay.
And so we got all three, and they all had to do with Jess. And so one of them was, "Can I steal you for a second?"
Okay.
So in this exchange that you're about to go into, Taylor is sitting with Joey talking about something, I guess, that seemed personal. Jess interrupts, "Hey, can I steal you for a second?" And then they have their exchange. Second thing, haven't heard this in a while. "I'm not here to make friends." Because Taylor basically is saying, essentially, that's not cool. I wouldn't have done that to you.
Sure.
And Jess responds like, "Well, I'm not here to make friends. Like, I'm here to date this guy." Number two. Number three is something around the right reasons, whether it's not here for the right reasons or I am here for the right reasons.
Sure.
And so we heard that much later on in the episode. So I just that made my day to hear all three.
So the bingo card was completed.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But they surrounded Jess. And so I loved that. I don't know how much she's studied the show or watched the show, but if she is going for villain, she's hitting the notes.
Interesting.
She's doing her job.
Okay.
Can I ask your opinion on something?
Yeah.
So this also happens every season, nearly every episode, especially early on. Jess's big point of criticism was her going to see Joey a second time meant that she would take time from other women who hadn't gotten a chance to see him yet or talk with him yet, and that they were feeling badly because essentially by the time the rose ceremony came, they weren't able to talk to him. And so I guess my question is, do you feel like Jess is to blame, or is there another way to think about this?
You're gonna think my answer is sexist.
Okay.
Okay. So the argument is, I think you can kind of break it down to, okay, Jess going up and getting second block of time demonstrates that she is inconsiderate of other people, which is potentially a character flaw, or it demonstrates, her aggression towards wanting the time and wanting to make the most of it, which could be perceived as a positive character trait. What I would argue, and I actually, and people won't like this argument, but what I would argue is that, generally speaking, the aggressive trait in a female is not attractive. If the roles were reversed and you had a man do it, it would be perceived a lot better. And that's.
No, I mean, as a woman, right?
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, as a woman, you want a guy who's going to fight for you. You want a guy who is. There's a reason why.
This is where there's a double standard.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason why women all overwhelmingly want guys that are over 6 feet tall. You want a guy who can protect you. You want a guy who demonstrates certain, tamed but aggressive qualities that demonstrate that he's strong and capable to be a provider and whatnot. Those aren't the qualities that a man is looking for in a woman, though, right? He's looking for a completely different set. And so, the aggressiveness, I think, hurts Jess here
Well, I think again from just a whether it's men / society, maybe those things are the same thing. But I think it's a valid point that Jess's taking a second shot would be viewed or experienced very differently than a man in the exact same position, for better or worse. So there are different expectations of men and women and how they behave and engage and interact in these kinds of interpersonal dynamics. So yes, so it's not, again, we don't even need to imagine, like there have been plenty of seasons of The Bachelorette when men have done the same thing. And some of it though is, yes, the way it's perceived, and yes, the women often, always, I hate saying always, but like as far as I can remember, have been nailed for going a second time, sometimes a third. I'm thinking about Hannah Ann, Peter Weber season. She went probably 3 times, and she was really grilled for that. They did not like that. Whereas, as you're saying, another guy.
But now also.
But wait. What I will say is, I think what adds fuel to the fire is the women's reaction to Jess, for example. Whereas some men might get like.
Well, this is the way I would say it. There's different expectations within the genders, right? Like women are by their nature more social creatures. Men by their nature are solo creatures, right? That's just how our brains are wired. Women build community. They build groups. And so when you do something that's disrespectful to the community, that is a big faux pas within female circles. Men, because we are solo by nature and we are highly competitive by nature, the expectation is like that we're all out for ourselves. A man who did not take a shot at a second one would be perceived by other men to be weak, and he'd be perceived by women to be weak as well. So it's not just like, a woman who goes in for a second one is being drilled unnecessarily and how that sex is. Also, the flip side of that is a man who didn't do that would be perceived as weak by both men and women.
Well, yes, I don't disagree with you. I think also that the interesting juxtaposition is in the reactions to this, right? So like when all the women react to Jess going a second time, like they all feel kind of righteous. I imagine the audience supported them. They hated that Jess did this. When a man in this situation
reacts,
even
blinks, right?
No, untrue.
Really?
There are some men that do, but that is criticized as being insecure, too sensitive, all of that stuff. And meanwhile, the same things are likely true. That's why these women are having this reaction. They're feeling insecure and anxious, and lacking confidence. But that's not necessarily the criticism of them, whereas that would be the criticism of the guy who's having a reaction, because it's not expected.
At the end of the day, men and women are different. The qualities that a man looks for in a woman are different than the qualities that a woman.
Expectations are different, and therefore what they might seek out are different.
Absolutely, yeah. What a man is looking for in a woman is different than what a woman is looking for in a man. We are complementary, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And I think we should celebrate the fact that we are, dichotomous, pieces that co-join together into, beautiful, marriages and things of that nature. Beautiful relationships. So yeah. There are double standards, but not all double standards are necessarily a bad thing, especially when they're symmetric double standards. I'm not saying you are, but this is a great example of a symmetric double standard, where both sides are doing something that the other side can't get away with, but they're complementary. We understand biologically and anthropologically why that happens, and both sides are happy with the way the other side behaves, barring a very small vocal minority of the population. So yeah, that's a long answer to. I thought it was ill-advised for Jess to take a second shot there, but if she's going for a villain edit, good job. Check that box off.
Yes, and I guess where I was like wanting to lead you to, but I'll just state my opinion on this, is that I think what the it always frustrates me that, again, this happens like every season. It frustrates me when the people that don't get time blame the people that do.
Yes.
It's your responsibility to
Advocate
get
for
time.
yourself.
Advocate for yourself. Put yourself out there. You have to shoot your shot. Take a page out of Jess's book and go get some time. Go interrupt. Like, that's expected. And there's a polite way to do that. And so that's the part of this that I don't like, is this kind of like victim mentality around like, I didn't get any time because you took it from me. No, we all had an equal opportunity here.
Yeah.
And so that passivity that then turns into victimhood, I'm not a fan of. And it, again,
You know what
happens
I
every
would
time.
love to know, and if anybody has a statistic out there, I would love to know the average length of time, and I have a hypothesis, average length of time of a one-on-one conversation in a cocktail party for women versus men. I would venture to guess that for bachelorettes, the time that they have in one-on-one conversations at cocktail parties, it wouldn't shock me if it's like 30-40% of the length. For women are just more naturally considerate of those around them. We, I've talked about it with, the community builders, whereas men are more aggressive, and men, that are not afraid to interrupt. Men will interrupt anybody at any time if they think they have a spot to do something that they want to do here, right? And so I would love to know if anyone has any statistics out there, length of time of a one-on-one conversation for bachelorettes versus bachelors. That'd be really fascinating. But my hypothesis is that it's at least half the time, if not like a third of the time.
So that
I think men interrupt conversations all
so
the
the
time.
bachelorettes would have shorter durations of
Yeah.
conversation.
Like
Because
I would wonder on cocktail parties, or another great statistic, how many men on average in a cocktail party don't get time versus how many women don't get time.
Well, again, I want to state that the lead has a lot of say in this, and I'll come back to Rachel Lindsay. And again, I guess I trust Rachel Lindsay.
Who's Rachel Lindsay?
So she was a bachelorette,
Okay.
and she was great. And what she had said famously is that she wanted to make sure that she spoke to every single man at her cocktail party the first night, because she didn't essentially want to leave any stone unturned. She wasn't going to send somebody home without speaking with them.
Did she have 32 men?
She probably had 25 men.
32 is a lot.
32 is a lot. I don't know why they
That's a lot
do
of
that.
people. That is just so many.
Especially if you're going to send 10 home.
Oh my
That's the
god.
point.
Yeah, it just, I can't even, I don't even want, if I was a bachelor, I would not want 38.
No,
It's just too many. Yeah.
So if what Rachel Lindsay's experience is consistent amongst the leads, then that means that Joey is an equal opportunity
Sure. Yeah.
bachelor, right? Like, he could, if he wanted to, make sure that he gets time with everybody.
Yeah, I think, and I agree. Like, oh, look, the lead clearly can say, okay, we've had enough time. I need to go, talk to other people as well. And he could have said to Jess, like, no, I'm sorry, there's too many people I haven't
We've
talked to
also
yet.
seen bachelors be the one at first night cocktail parties go seek out somebody
Sure,
that they
yeah.
wanted to follow up with too. So like, I hate that if he wanted to, he would. Like, I don't always believe that, but like in this circumstance, like if you wanted to, you would, and if he wanted to, he would. So like, clearly there wasn't enough of a connection, or there was a miss in some way, shape, or form that
Yeah.
you two did not get any time together.
Well, I do think this comes back to the double standard a little bit, where we're just, killing Jess, saying that, like, how dare she go out a second run, and at the same
not saying
time,
that.
well, I'm just saying, like we're saying, like, that's a faux pas, but at the same time, we're also saying, like, these other girls who haven't gotten any time, like, that aggression. And I use the term aggression, just maybe it's a little bit of a harsh word, but the assertiveness. Assertiveness is probably the better word. The assertiveness required to go for a second time isn't that much greater than the assertiveness to go for a first time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're saying, like, that's a little bit too far, you've gone over the line a little bit there, I can understand why a lot of these other women would not, especially in their early 20s or mid 20s, not have, developed the skill yet of knowing where that assertive line is, especially if you're a very attractive, as many of these young ladies are, very attractive. You probably have not ever really needed to develop the skill of, like, injecting yourself to go and talk to a guy, and so I can understand why for Bachelor, why many of the women would hang back. I have no sympathy whatsoever for a bachelorette with the male cast. Like every one of those men, by the time you're in your mid-20s, you have already figured out, that you need to be assertive or you will get no look from a woman ever. That's part of being a man growing up. You learn that. And so I have no sympathy for. But I have a lot of sympathy for the women, especially if you're early mid-20s. It's hard to walk up to somebody. As a man, we have to do the majority of the approaching. And it is hard to develop that skill. It is hard to learn that. And it takes a...
That's like drilled into you that's what's expected.
As a man, yeah, we just know that if that we have to learn that. And for many men, they never learn it well. And it is a hard skill. So I empathize with anybody who is at the point in time in their life who has to actually engage in it. And for the first few times, it is brutal. So I'm sympathetic to the women in that regard. And I, for all the things I'm not sympathetic for, that is, they are having to experience a very small piece of what it is to be a man on a daily basis is kind of how I would phrase that. It's brutal. That part of it is brutal.
Oh, get it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to cover on the cocktail party?
No, I'm ready to wrap up and go to the rose ceremony.
All right. We already kind of talked about the first impression rose. The only thing I'll say about that is bad call.
Men are historically on The Bachelor. Their first impression rose is typically like
throwaway.
Doesn't mean anything. It's more interesting from the Bachelorette side of things, as I've said. So yeah, it's Leia. We'll see how long she sticks around.
I think it's gonna be short.
Yeah. And then,
you know what we didn't talk about? Daisy, real quick. Love Daisy. I'm a big fan. I think her story is fantastic. I think production's gonna love her.
Yeah.
I think
Audience
loves her. She's cute. She's got like a great story. And she seems like a genuine person who's there for real reasons.
For the right reasons.
For the right reasons. I'm a big fan of Daisy. I hope she goes really far. I'm disappointed she did not get the first impression rose. But yeah,
when we were watching, we had called that Daisy was going to get the first impression rose when it was dropped. So we were both pretty surprised it didn't go to her. So yeah, Daisy's a favorite of mine so far, and I think she's going to go the distance. So.
Yep. And the only other one I mentioned, I thought solid performance all around. Jen, go-kart girl. Even in her, they raced go-karts in their kind of one-on-one time, but then did have enough little bit of talking time. We know how I can be critical about things that are spaced apart, but they did have some time together. I think she's doing a solid job of standing out in a way that isn't abrasive or obtrusive or a little too off-putting in some ways.
My other favorite was Autumn. I know I alluded to this already, but even their conversation in the cocktail hour, my notes about her were essentially she's comfortable. She's confident. She's comfortable in her body. She's comfortable in herself. She knows who she is, which, for mid-20 something, good on you, girl. I wish I could have been the same. So I love, her confidence speaks to me, is attractive to me. And I can't imagine, for Joey being actually there with her, that if I feel it off the screen, he must feel it in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that she's one of my front runners, but I do think that there's something there to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so. All right, so roll on to the rose ceremony. We've already kind of alluded to all the important facts here. The sisters, barbell, the thing, Allison at the front end, Lauren at the back end. Leia got the first impression rose, and pretty much all the people that we got any look at throughout the entire episode basically got a rose. The people who went home, I don't think I could name any of them, and there were 10 of them.
There was one woman that had a really pretty green dress that went home, but...
Sydney? No, Sydney got a rose. Something like that, yeah.
No idea.
It wasn't very, very pretty. With the thingies at the crossing and it was very, very pretty, yeah.
Oh, but maybe this should be a thing that I do, is talk about the dresses that I like, because actually, if you've been a watcher for a while and you watched Bachelor in Paradise, I commented that I loved a dress that Mercedes wore on her one-on-one date with Tyler. And Chris actually got it for me for Christmas.
Yeah,
so,
I'm gonna wear it when we go to Mexico.
That's right.
We go to Mexico at the end of March, and
we will not be hoping to see raccoons.
They're not raccoons.
Well, anyway, so I'll be keeping my eyes out for another potential addition to my wardrobe.
Did you notice there was a lot of glitter and sparkle happening?
So much sparkle.
I'm just the cleaning crew is gonna be miserable the next day.
That was a lot.
It's gonna be
Very
glitter
smart.
everywhere.
All right, so we started with 32, we ended with 22. So we're saying no huge surprises on who went home.
No. So, all right. So, before we come to the end of the episode, let's just remind everybody. Before the next airing of Bachelor season 28, Joey's season, which is on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern,
That's the 29th.
29th Eastern time. Before that airs, you need to put in the comments in this show who your top 4 people are that you think are going to go the longest. And we're going to tabulate all those up, and every week we're going to keep track of the points. And if you end up with the most points, you're going to win a prize. If you end up just beating all of the revived staff, then you're going to be in a pool that's going to raffle off some more prizes. Amy and I will be telling you who our 4 are at the top of the next episode. We don't want to tell you now because you front runners are going to try and get ahead of us. I know what you're all doing. I see it.
I actually don't know your 4 yet.
Because you're going to front run me.
Okay, yes. So do that before 8 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, the 29th of January.
All right. So last segment before we get out of here, Rose and Thorn.
Okay.
All right.
You tell me, what was your rose and thorn?
Oh boy. Well, my thorn is the ages of these contestants. I would really love. I was thinking about this. It would be great if maybe they made this show with 60 and 70-year-old people. So like that would be like novel,
I have
new.
a really good name for it.
What are you thinking?
Maybe the Golden Bachelor.
Oh, that's a great idea. What a clever name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean my thorn is just
You were
but-
spoiled.
I was spoiled. When I compare Golden versus this show, I feel like I'm gonna have to really change my mindset and change my expectations a little bit. I feel like I might have just, so when I was 9 years old, I played Little League for the first time, and we won the championship, my team. Now I sucked, but we won the championship. And so I just started just assuming, oh, I'm like a championship team player. And then we didn't win the championship again for another 5 years. And so I feel like that's where I'm at. Whereas like I started at the high, and there's now nowhere to go but down. And how long am I gonna be in the trough, right? Before I get back to another championship season.
Listen, two things can be true at the same time. This could be the best season of The Bachelor in a really long time, and it might not be as good as Golden Bachelor. I feel like we're comparing apples and oranges.
Fair enough.
So you need to erase that bar. We're at a new bar.
All right. What's that bar called? Does my brother own that one?
Okay, so what's your rose?
Well, you tell me your thorn first.
I feel like my thorn, I'm trying to not repeat something that I already said.
Mm-hmm.
So like things that were thorny to me that I've already alluded to are the low energy of the entrances, the lack of like, I'm not rooting for that many women yet. That like I don't feel endeared to that many women, and I think that's one of the downsides to decreasing the length of time spent on like the opening packages, because like I don't really know them. Mm-hmm. So like why should I care about them? Why should I root for them? Why am I invested in their love story? So like that's why I think who are the ones that I like, the ones that we got to know a little bit more about. So anyway, so my thorn is like related to my skepticism about the casting. I'm concerned.
Okay.
So that's like feeling a little bit thorny to me because I'm actually really excited for this season, and it could go south really quickly if we don't get what we need from these cast members. So does that count as a thorn? It's like it's like a worry.
Yeah, sure. That's I'll take it. All right. So my rose for this week, shameless plug. I'm super excited for the Survivor game. There's nothing that makes it better. Trust me, as a football watcher, nothing makes everything more exciting. Any sort of competition more exciting than having some small, insignificant wager. It could be literally, like no actual monetary value, just bragging rights. But the second that you have to put some skin in the game and you have to lay down and an actual gamble on something, it just makes everything more exciting. So I, for one, right now riding high on the rose that is going to be the Survivor game, that I am going to win. Do I get to win the prizes? I don't think I get to win the prizes.
do not get to
so
win the
if we score high points, we're just like excluded, right? That's just how that works.
We just get the satisfaction.
The satisfaction
knowing
of
that we won.
being victors, being the best, the smartest, the most insightful, the most intelligent. Yeah. Okay.
So I have 2 roses to give.
Well, hey Oprah, you get a rose. You get a rose.
Well,
was that Oprah?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know anything, do I?
So this might sound like I'm pandering to what Chris just said, but I actually said this. Chris, I actually live reacted to the premiere episode on our Instagram story on Monday night. And one of the things that I said was that, and my rose actually will go to you, to our viewers, because you were so engaged with us during Golden Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise. You were so active in those comments that it inspired us to want to create a great show for you guys. And when we were talking over dinner, we were like, okay, how do we continue to make this exciting and engaging for our subscribers, for our viewers, especially on the weeks where it's like a little bit boring. So not only did you inspire us to do this, to think a little bit creatively, but we also did it because we value you and we care about you, and we want this to be fun for you guys too. So my rose is to you, because that's another reason why Chris is back, is he had a good enough time doing this.
Did I? Was that how you selling
That's
it?
how I'm interpreting it.
Okay.
And I think you enjoy getting the feedback and hearing the banter and the commentary from our audience.
You know what I didn't enjoy?
What?
The hours of editing. Let me tell you something. Editing a podcast is a lot of work.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah. I just, you want to know who gets the real rose this week?
Do you want me to give a 3rd rose to you?
No.
Oh.
But I know who really needs a rose this episode?
What? Who?
Your mother.
Oh.
I want you to point out, see all this? Her mother came over the house earlier. She knows I've been frustrated with where we've been recording in the house. And she came over. This is not what our living room looks like normally. She just did all this. I mean, everything's wrong.
This is our living room.
Up is down is up. Dogs are cats. I mean, water is dry. It's like everything is wrong in the house, but it looks pretty damn beautiful, I think. And she did a great job.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, so you're coming over every Monday or Tuesday, apparently, for the rest of the season.
She's hoping you'll leave it like this.
This is not happening.
My mom played the long game. She has wanted us to put our couch facing this way
for 10 years. I keep telling her never, not happening, never.
Well, here we are.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna put it back, and we'll reconstruct it next week.
Okay, so Mom, you get a rose too if you're watching. She hit that bell icon.
She did. She hit that bell icon. I mean, it took her a while to figure out where the bell icon was.
I actually did it for her.
Oh, that's nice of you. Yeah.
So my other rose goes to this show being back, and like just hitting the high notes of what makes this show entertaining. As much as, like, again, Jess is annoying, that's what we're here for. We're here for that. We're here for this petty drama. Leia, cry your eyes out all day, babe. I'm here. I'd love to see it as a viewer. Hearing, again, those notes, like, here for the right reasons, not here to make friends. Can I steal you for a second? It felt like such a breath of fresh air. So thank you for giving me exactly what I wanted. We're back, baby. Like, it felt great.
Words I've never heard at Christmas, birthday, anniversary, or Valentine's Day. Exactly what I wanted. Here for it. Fantastic.
Hey.
I've given you a good gift or two. I can't say that. Every now and then. It's been 16 years. You got a couple of gifts here or there. Yeah. About one every 5 years I do all right.
You do good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're done now.
I think it's like midnight. It's time to wrap
I have
up.
to get on a plane.
You're getting on a plane in like 3 hours. Yeah. So, all right. Take us out of here.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you being here, for listening, for subscribing, for rating, reviewing all of your comments. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you haven't done that already, it's not too late to hit the like button at the bottom of this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as Chris was saying, don't forget about our Survivor game. Entries in the comments here before Monday, January 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We are excited to play along with you. If you want more of what we do at Revive, we have another podcast called Wishing You Well, where me and my co-host Catherine, who's another therapist, talk about all things wellness. Our most recent episode is breaking down all of the forecasted wellness trends for 2024. And we played a little Fuck, Marry, Kill with the wellness trends that are predicted for this year. So would love for you to take a look and a listen to that. You can find that on our YouTube channel and also wherever you find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. You can also follow along with me on Instagram at Amy Albero LCSW. Check out our Instagram, Revive CFW, and our website, revivecfw.com. And we will be back next week, right after week 2 of Joey's season of The Bachelor. We will see you then. Bye.
Hang tight for another wild one.
Is that your new outro?
I'm trying things.
I don't like that one.
Okay. See ya. This is going to be an awful edit. Oh my god. This is going to be a rough one.